My great pleasure to introduce Nicole to you, so thank you for coming. And just tell you a little bit about Nicole. She studied at Charles Sturt University, majoring in photography. She started, like we all do, I think, in the junior end and doing very rudimentary roles in rural newspapers. She progressed to becoming News Limited's foremost horse racing photographer, then became a features photographer at Fairfax. She had her work published in the New York Times, the London Times, and Australian publications including Australian Geographic, The Australian and The Age. We'd like to acknowledge and thank Fujifilm, who have sponsored Nicole to be with us today. If you can put your hands together for Nicole.
Are these lights going to come down here? They are? Yeah. So I think we've got a short film to show first, is that right? Yeah. Not sure if... oh, that stand? Do you want to move that stand so I can see the screen a bit better? Yep, good to go. This is, I'm not sure, I guess some of you have seen the little short film made by Fujifilm. I'm an XT3 ambassador. So we'll start with the little film and then I'll take you through some images and I'll finish with stills that I shot on that day. It's a bit of an addiction. My grandmother had it and all her sisters and brothers. I think my parents wanted me to grow out of it, but I never did. Horses are so spiritual. You can read their soul, and that's very important because it comes across in your images, and you know the exact moment when they look their best. When I was 7, I borrowed Mum's camera for the day, a little old Minolta film camera, and she said I could only take 2 photos, and I took this one photograph of a mare and a foal running in a paddock together. The mare on an extended trot and the foal just in front at an outstretched gallop, and a perfect photo. I'd go into a dark room and it was like a time warp. I'd lose time, I'd be there for 11 hours and I'd forgotten to eat or drink anything, and I thought, wow, I found my niche. I left uni and was picked up by a newspaper and started my cadetship as a press photographer. Did a lot of horse racing photography, photographed celebrities. I had a book published called High on Horses, and it became an Australian bestseller, and it was a culmination of 10 years of my best work as a photographer. It's not just setting up lights and composition, it's also getting that feeling and that emotion across. And you have to really be able to connect with your subject on that. So if it's a horse, you have to really know them intimately on an emotional level. When I was a child, I was horse mad. I was also drawn to images and a very visual person. So I loved painting and drawing, and in fact spent pretty much all my time as a child drawing. Hi girls!
Annie is feeling it today.
And even now, if I have a concept for a photo I want to shoot, I will scribble it in my sketchbook. Maybe one at a time, Says, so I can do each one of you one at a time. And try and, capture exactly that when I look through the viewfinder. Oh, you can preview, you can see what it's shooting far out. I might go up to 60.
So does that mean I do it again?
So today I was shooting my daughter Tilly and her friend with the XT3. It's fantastic to use, it's lightweight, very comfortable, very user-friendly. You don't even really notice it's there. Super fast motor drive, and the live view is amazing. You can shoot slow shutter, 15th of a second, you can instantly see what effect you're getting with the background streaking. And that combined with the 400-point focus system, without a doubt, just superior results. The XT3 really did it for me. I had it in the bag, and I knew I had it in the bag while I was shooting.
Thank you. It's the first time I've seen it on something that big, so I don't know if anyone else saw how dirty my car was inside. That stuck out to me. Okay, so I've never actually spoken to such a large group of people, so just bear with me. I've done a few little workshops and I've only had 10 people in the room at once, so hopefully my nerves will settle in a little bit once I start talking. So I've just gone back to the beginning and some published works I'm starting with. This is just a few examples of my work, if I can get it to advance. How come it's not going for me? Yeah, wait a minute, got it, cool. Yep, so just a few examples of some covers. These are all taken back in the film days. So I worked for both the Australian and the Age, and that's a couple of my best cover shots there. A couple of celebrities I've photographed. You'll have to excuse the one of Denzel. It's an iPhone photo shot from just a 6x4 print back in the day. I wish I stole the negative, actually. Really wish I stole the negative. The other one I shot for the Age. And yeah, it's pretty special when you get to spend 5 minutes with someone that's so famous. And you can sort of, yeah, get to know them a bit more on a personal level. A few book covers. These were back in the 90s as well. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's my book, Kind Horses, that came out in 2003. And Alison Lester asked me to do a cover shot for her 15th anniversary edition of The Snow Pony. That was only a couple of years ago. So that's the more recent published stuff. This is a race fall that happened in Sydney, and I was normally shooting from the sidelines, normally on the other side of the fence. And for some reason, this particular day, I said, I want to sneak and shoot from the inside rail. So I was the only photographer that got this series of shots of Shane Dye coming off the horse. Because the other guys are right on the fence, they saw nothing. They just saw a horse running without a jockey, but I saw the jockey hanging on for dear life on this side. And he ran an official placing because his feet didn't touch the ground until after the finish line. It's a bit of a series I shot for Australian Geographic over a couple of years up in the high country. You'll see a few of those bigger later on. So basically I'm going to go through the basics, how I shoot, my lens selection, how I frame things, how I use light, that sort of thing. The biggest mistake people make, and often it's a question that beginners ask, oh, how come their head looks all distorted, or they look like giraffes, or blah, blah, blah. I mean, you guys, I'm sure you'd know about lenses that distort, so you'd need sort of like an 85mm or at least a 55, 60mm, so you don't get that distortion in your shots. This is a group I went and shot for the Age after the fires up in Gippsland. And just an example of how when you're shooting for editorial, you've got to shoot both portrait and landscape shapes. And I always try and get the nice light that's just window lit. So we're in a dark stable and there's just reflected light, just, you know, natural light coming in through the windows. And I went back and did that horse when she was healed and she's back out in the paddock. So, and again, I haven't got horizontal, I haven't got a vertical one in there, but showing different lenses. I'd always shoot wide, get a lot of environment, and then go in nice and tight, and you can see the emotion on the faces of the owners. So I've got, using your lenses, I've just got some examples of using wide lenses. So with animals particularly, you want to make sure, so you don't get that distortion, keep them away from the very edges so they don't distort too much. This was just dropping the car off for a service, and these guys rocked up, so... Yeah, just showing how you can get down low and just try different angles you're shooting. And especially, I mean, this is back before iPhones, so we were sort of holding our cameras in and pressing the shutter. But yeah, iPhones are amazing now. You can just hold them underneath. Mind you, with most DSLRs, they have the little flip-out screens, so... Just some more examples of using a wide lens, 20mm lens. This is on film, on a Fuji film, back early 90s. Same Fuji film, so that's a high-res scan done for my book years ago. Yeah, late afternoon light, just nicely balanced with the horse's ear and his head on that side on an angle. One of the first ones I did when I was up in the high country, and that's before I could afford a real wide lens. That was a tacky, I think it was an old Sigma, a really old tacky Sigma. And I look at it now and think, oh, I wish it was Canon, or I wish, well, now, these days I wish it was Fuji. They're so sharp, but yeah, the edges they're just a little bit soft. But yeah, that was just, for the big skies and the landscapes, just beautiful, especially when you get things like snow gums. So using long lenses now, just talking about when I go long, when I use 100 to 400 or a 70 to 200, I like to go in nice and close and study their shapes, and because you do get a fair bit of compression when you use long lenses, so you can use that to your advantage. Oh, that's out of order. I had a feeling it wasn't quite in the right order. Another wide shot, just showing how it picks up the sky. Great for dramatic skylines. Okay, sorry about the Highland cow, he jumped in a bit early there. So these are macro lenses. Examples of shooting macro. 55mm macro this is taken on. And the standard lens, a lot of people think, oh, you don't have any need for a 35mm or a 50mm or anything like that, but I've just put a few examples in to show how often they work best for things like this, because that was sort of taken after the sun had gone down, so it's quite dark. So you might have a 2.8 and you need that extra light. So great for things like that. I couldn't get back far enough, couldn't use a long lens, and yeah, a wide lens would have distorted him. So, and the same sort of thing. This was just standard lens, just fit perfectly. Too wide and there was too much distortion, but standard lens, yeah. Another one with a macro lens, 55mm macro. These are all shot as well. This one's just shot, if you're wondering how I lit it. Cat's in a white laundry basket. I don't use studios. Cat's in a white laundry basket on the veranda. So you get that nice studio effect with a laundry basket. Now talking about long lenses. So this just shows the difference with using something more powerful. So I had my daughter sitting next to me and she was on the 70 to 200 and I was using the 100 to 400. Sometimes it just helps to zoom in a lot closer to get those shots. Another one taken with a long lens, Highland cows. I desaturated that in Photoshop if you're wondering about the edit work. I don't tend to crop or edit much at all, but I do like to desaturate things and try and make them a little bit more artistic for walls and that type of thing. Again, taken at the zoo. This was taken on Fuji, the 100 to 400mm lens. Doesn't look sharp to me standing here, but I hope it does to you because it's pin sharp. I was so excited about the lens and the results I was getting. Yeah, you can see every hair, love it. This is one from way back when I went to Africa. In '97, we did a 5-hour trek through rainforest to find these guys, these mountain gorillas. It's in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and we had to cross quite a few borders of Zaire and Rwanda, and big, machetes and guns, people and borders crossings with scary stuff. But it was worth it to meet this little family. I think there's only 600 or 700 left in the wild. So that was shot back on my old Nikon F4 with a 300mm lens, F4, on transparency film. That was scanned as well. If you're interested, the scan would have been done probably 15 years ago, and it was a 100 meg size scan, digital scan. So again, long lens, this one's with a 600mm, so it gives the illusion of standing right in front of the horses, but because I'm positioned a fair way down the track and the track's curved, it looks like they're coming straight at me. So yeah, great for, and you can also see the other horses in the background. They look like they're all really close and tight together, but that's the compression effect that you get with really long lenses. Thing I like to do as well when you're shooting nice and long is you can get foliage. You can shoot through foliage and you can get that nice little blurred, people go to the effort of trying to put these things in Photoshop and Lightroom, but you can, if you get creative and have a think about your composition, you can get it while you're shooting it. So things like agapanthus and flowers and foliage on trees, if you shoot through the leaves, make sure you get a bit in the foreground. It makes your composition much stronger. Just showing that shot that I did for the cover of The Age. Again, with all this big row of, looks like an ocean of people, but yeah, shot with a 300mm lens, compresses everyone together. So it's just like a sea of faces and hats. And I was standing on Parliament steps for that one. Again, shooting with a long lens, 100 to 400, and selecting, what's important, what's most important. And this woman wanted to show her connection with animals. She's an animal communicator from Canada, and she particularly wanted some importance with her bracelet she was wearing, Native American Indians, and I've tried to blend her hair in with the horse's mane. That's her head there on the left. Try and make her more of a part of the animal, so she was wrapped in that image. And again, just showing how you can zoom in on different patterns and different shapes and different textures. The owner's actually standing just out of shot here, and he's got his hand down giving him a carrot or an apple or something, so just to get that nice shape in the neck. And again, just long lens stuff. One taken through the glass at the zoo of a mandrill. I love the colours and the textures in those. Long lens. Again, zooming in nice and tight. That was with 70 to 200mm lens. Taken under a carport, but the blowout background is just the white weatherboards, and a little bit of highlight from the sun on the right-hand side. So, yeah, a lot of people say, did you light that? Was that taken in a studio? No, it's all natural light, all available light. Just going in close on details again, showing that you can often just pick a section of an animal, and it'll still work. And the rule of thirds is nice there. You've got the eye on the right-hand side. You can break it into 3 parts. This was some that I shot on Fuji. That was on the 55 to 200 lens, the Fuji lens. They've got the face detection, the eye detection. This one I wasn't sure about putting in because I've actually had to Photoshop a chain out of the centre. And but I was just trying to show how well it picks up the light. Again, you're zooming in, you're just looking at the textures and the light above his eye. Same thing taken with the 100 to 400mm lens. I've cropped a tiny bit off this, but so much detail in the hair, every hair. That's what I love. You can almost feel like you can reach out and feel every hair with your fingers. Some old ones from the zoo from years ago. But again, just my style. I like moving. I just like to try and get that emotion that comes across from animals and going really close to see expressions and eyes. Same, just using the example of composition and line, and as well as texture, just a good example. And it was important to have an eye in that shot as well. I could have had, I think I did get some on the one down the bottom in the foreground, but yeah, there's 3 in a row, so the one in the middle worked the best. Same, this is more about the eye and the light. This is taken outdoors, but standing under a very large dark hedge, so he's looking out to a bit of filtered natural light just outside. And details going nice and close on patterns and coat patterns and hair. Can make for really nice effects. This is, I shot it like that because I was trying to go in really close on the mane as he came in and slid to a stop, and the mane blowing in the wind. So you can get some really nice arty stuff when you get in nice and tight, and you challenge yourself to just zoom in as much as your lens will zoom in. This is one I've thrown in from the doco, so that's taken on the 100 to 400, and again I was trying to capture, yeah, just the texture and the action and the water splashing up. You can see the hair on the horse is all wet. Yeah, beautiful textures in that. So I shot it like that as well. I wanted to just zoom in on a bit of muscle and water. The zoo one, again, concentrating on the eyes, getting nice and tight. This was one I took for the age many years ago. I'm lucky to have my old boss from the age sitting here in the front row. So he's, do you remember this one, Lee? Yeah. And I just happened to be walking, we went out to do a story on the elephant enclosure, I think, and I was walking from one room to another, and there was a little gap in the fence, and she was sleeping in the sun. It was just beautiful, beautiful light, and again, texture, because she just had a bit of sand thrown all over her. I had one lady, I had this on display in a gallery, it's funny, and the owner of the gallery came out and said, "Oh, why have you got a picture of a dead elephant?" And I said, it's not a dead elephant, it's a sleeping elephant. She said, "Oh, do you think so?" I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "It went in the Age newspaper." And she said, "Oh, I don't think anyone's going to buy it, seriously." And I said, "Well, look, just leave it here and we'll see what happens." And it sold within a week. So I was like, sucked in there. So yeah, I thought it was beautiful. I loved it when I shot it. One I took on a film camera back in the 90s, 300mm lens, late afternoon light. Again, just showing the texture. It was an old farmer from out the back of Wagga, between Wagga and Narrandera. So I love the texture on his hands and the hair on his hands, and then the texture on the horse's face. It was a family that had been farming for generations and bred Clydesdales and used them for dam building and all that sort of stuff. So this is just selecting action, your best action images. So this was shot for someone who just wanted to get stuff of her dogs playing. I can't remember which one she liked in the end, but again, it sort of comes down to personal preference. She kind of laughed at a lot of them, and she picked out a couple of nice portraits. Again, there's another action one, slow shutter panning. So you get it. Well, when I say slow shutter, not 15th or anything, but probably 1/25th, 2/50th, and panning. So you still freeze your subject, but the background's got a bit of softness to it. So framing, composing and moving subjects. So I've had a few people at workshops, and they don't sort of challenge themselves enough. And I'd sort of say try and shoot it exactly how you want to, so you don't have to crop later on, because you're losing your image resolution when you do crop. So yeah, I try and encourage them to just leave even amount around the subject, but whichever direction they're moving, give them a little bit more space on that side of the frame. So if he's going that way, leave a little bit of room on that side of him to run into. And you don't have to have people's heads if it doesn't work. So this was about the dust and the action and the light. So more important to have the muscle and the grit and the horse's heads in there, but it still works even without the guy's head. Yeah. Dogs are great for action shots. Yeah, it's amazing some of the positions they get into and the expressions as well. And this is another one I did for the age. I did at the Melbourne show. It was a Melbourne show photo, and did some stuff with them hosing the cattle, and I did some fast and froze the droplets of water, but I think this one ended up running at the end of the day just because it's quite different. That was about 15th or 30th of a second just to get the streaks. And there's another one showing the movement, one I shot on the Fuji, 15th of a second. The thing I love about the XT3 is that you can see, as I was shooting that, you can immediately see with the live view. I know a lot of bodies these days have live view, so you can see the streaks as you're shooting. I was really excited about that, loved it. And great for stuff like this too. 15th of a second, 100 to 400 mil lens. See the streaks, and backlighting as well, which works beautifully. More movement. This was 15th of a second panning. I was on the back of a horse. This is the Australian Geographic spread that I did, and I had a flash on resync, so you can see. I think I got about 3 clicks as he ran past me. And the one dead centre was the only one that pretty much worked. But you can see the faint shadows on the horse's legs. So the flashes just popped off, rear sync. But you get those great streaks, and that great movement effect on a 20mm lens. So now I'm talking about lighting. So these basically photos were taken only minutes apart. And just to illustrate changing your position in relation to where the sun is, the totally different effect you can get. So the sun's obviously over that side of the horse for this one, and the sun is shining directly on him for the one on the right. This is, again, same shoot but showing the different lighting effects. So sun's on the horse in the top left and behind the horse top right, and the 2 bottom ones, the sun's on either side, or on this side of him. Show, again, personal preference really, just totally depends what effect you want. Side lighting shows a lot more muscle, back lighting is a lot more moody, and front lighting can be too flat. So this is same horse again, but showing the difference with sun went behind a cloud and sun came out. So just the huge difference something that simple can make. Same thing, same horse. One's with sun, one's without. So yeah, be aware of that if you shoot, well, pretty much whatever you're shooting. If it's people, it's often best to be, an overcast day, so then you don't get shadows under their face. But with animals, it depends what effect you're after with an animal. Great to show definition again, same horse without sun and with sun. Some examples of late afternoon light I have here. 300mm lens, and this was scanned from film back in the late 90s. So probably shot at about f4 and I think about 2/50th of a second from memory. But just beautiful shape and lighting. And I think I shot a couple of frames, and that was back when Mind you, 4 frames a second was really, really fast. So I think I only got a couple of frames, and that was the pick of them. Same, this one's on taken in the outback, late afternoon. I think this one was on transparency film as well, with the other ones in the series. Yeah, late afternoon light's beautiful. Do most of you guys shoot late afternoon light, or you prefer late afternoon lighting if you're doing animals? Yep. Again, late afternoon light. It's great when you've got hair and mane and things like that. Catch the light. Another one. Sorry, I just noticed that mouse was on. Move it away. Yeah, so backlighting, late afternoon or early morning, these are. Yeah, so sun's going down over in the background there behind the trees. Yeah, anything with water and hair works fantastic with that backlighting. Sun going down over the back, that was with a 400mm lens out in the Riverina Plains. And yeah, I love how it catches all the flies too. Sometimes people take them out, but it just adds to it. It's the Australian feel. This was sunrise. Yeah, sun coming up over the back there. Yeah, fog looks fantastic with backlighting. Well, that one's a bit small. Again, an example of backlighting with animals. Sun setting with backlighting going down over the back, and yeah, a lot of people would think, oh, I want to take that lens flare out, but I actually don't mind it. It sort of balances the colours in this image. That's almost, well, virtually, except it's not a raw file. It's virtually untouched colour-wise and cropping. That's how I shot it. Late afternoon light. This was taken out near Benalla. Yeah, that magic time of day is late afternoon. Another one from up in the high country, late afternoon. That was for the Australian Geographic series as well. So this was on transparency film back in the 90s. Sunrise with fog, the Hawkesbury River near Sydney. The close-up one of that backlighting one to show how it's show the effects when it's with hair and mane and things. It's beautiful. This is technically backlit, but just to show how yeah, people these days seem to love things against a white background, especially for walls. They like lots of white space. But he was standing under a tree, and I just exposed for him. So the background had, you know, fences and paddocks and stuff in it, but because I did the exposure off the horse, the background blew out. So I probably only had to lighten it a fraction more. So that's a great tip if you want to do something like that. Isolate your subject, stand there under a tree and expose for your subject. It's the beauty of having digital, is you can check how your exposure is going of your subject straight away. But yeah, and then that's a great tip on how to blow out your background. Yeah, a lot of people say, oh, did you Photoshop that? No, just shot it that way. So now looking at silhouettes. So that's when the sun's gone down and you get those really pretty black shapes, whatever shapes you want, and the really nice skies in the background. So that was taken up near Echuca. Sunrise. That's the sunset up in the Hunter Valley in New South Wales on film. On transparency for working for the thoroughbred studs up there. This one was taken for the Border Mail in Albury, the newspaper, second newspaper I worked for, the rural newspaper I worked for. And yeah, afternoon shot. This was taken at my old farm. Just walked out one night to feed the horses and saw that. Oh my God, quickly race back inside. Get the camera and click, click, click. Just saw that straight outside my house and I thought, oh, perfect. And I think that sat in a folder on my hard drive for maybe 10 years before I even pulled it out and looked at it. So it's crazy how you can have something that you really love shooting at the time, but then you forget to look at it and then 10 years later you go, wow, oh, I love that one. So this is just going into window lighting, which is pretty much the main way I shoot things. So that's just taken inside. You can see the reflection of the window in his eyes actually. The window lighting's here, so you get that nice soft light and almost a studio type effect. This was quite a famous one. I shot this in the 90s. It went on an international book, taken on transparency film. I think it was on like 100 ASA tranny film, and it was shot at about 15th or 30th of a second, 2.8. So a whole roll of 36 exposures. I think I only got 1 or 2 sharp. So I kind of fluked it in a way. But this is in a stable, a really dark stable, and there's a tiny little window over here, and there's a guy standing out there with a feed bucket tapping it, try and get it to look that way. And there's sawdust on the ground, so the sun's hitting a bit of the sawdust and reflecting up under a chin. So you get that nice, the cool light coming from the window, but then the nice warmth under a chin that's reflecting from the wood shavings. So, and a lot of people have ripped that off actually and painted it and tried to make money out of it. But a lot of people have started shooting that style after seeing that picture. So, yeah, it was over 20 years ago now. Became a bit of a trademark image, and this is just a closer up one of that series I shot for The Age to show the lighting. So it's more about the vet and the horse and his relationship with him and what he's trying to do. And yeah, so you don't see any of the horrible shed or the stuff that's in the background. It just almost becomes black. This is again one taken with window lighting in a dark stable. The guy who owns the horse is standing here, and he's just holding a little bit of grass or feed or oats or something in his hand to get him to arch his neck around. So I really, really wanted to get that strong shape of the muscle and the colour. And the window's over there. So, yeah, again, I think we shot 2 rolls of film. Probably got 2 or 3 that were pin sharp. Because back then you sort of didn't want to go up to 400 or 800 ASA. It was just too grainy. So I tried to shoot as much as I could on 100 ASA. So you get the quality. Would have killed for the stuff we have now. Back then would have been great. So this is just a macro shot sleeping puppy, one of our litter of Kelpie puppies that we had, showing really, really narrow depth of field. And again, that's just taken indoors, just a little bit of natural light coming from a window over here. Another one, same one of the puppies, but they're sitting out on the veranda on an old couch, and yeah, it's just beautiful natural light just spilling in on the veranda. And this is taken in a school with a plain wall in the background, so windows up above behind her head. And again, because of how black the dog is, and you're sort of exposing for the dog, the walls pretty much blows out, so you just get a plain white background. This is just changing your angles, and we'll probably do this, or if you're going out photographing wildlife or whatever you do, you automatically think, oh, I want to get as close as you can, but think about the angles and the backgrounds. So have a look at the subject and think, oh, is it going to be better if I walk around here, or how's it going to look if I go behind it? So yeah, there was a couple of us shooting these horses, and I went around to the side and did this row of horses, and the stud absolutely loved it. They were thrilled with it. I thought, oh, it's just stock standard. It's just what you do as a press photographer, you know. You just don't stand in front, you walk around. But yeah, they were rapt. Showing a couple of close-up shots and framing butterflies. Yeah, this is sort of more about composition. So again, giving framing it so the cat's got a bit of space, a bit of a void for him to look into on that side. It's a nice example of the rule of thirds and colour, nicely balanced, because the dog's got a void up on the top left to look into, and you've almost got a diagonal line dead centre where the colour's divided. Another crazy cow, so yeah, this is a classic one. Yeah, again, long lens and just framing. I've taken a lot of these guys and gone in nice and tight, but yeah, this one's just screaming to have all their horns in there. She was a bit of a crazy cow, that one. And this is one I took for the age. Again, up at a dingo sanctuary up in the Macedon Ranges. Yeah, it's been a popular one as well. Just the textures, just the framing, the composition and the framing, just beautiful. And she only walked up to that log and stopped for a split second and then jumped straight down. But yeah, I just got 1 or 2 frames and I was wrapped. That was taken for the age as well, that one. And this is kind of my sort of trademark image that I took about 10 years ago now. And again, an example of when I see something in my mind and I want to execute that, take a photo of it, and often it doesn't work out, but when you're there shooting and you're pushing and you're going, yeah, we're getting there, and I think this took about 2 hours. So we were in the stable again. I have someone behind the horse and she's holding a little bit of grass down here, down where his nose is, and I've had to Photoshop that out, the grass out. So, but I really wanted the mane, cascading down, like a waterfall. And that forelock, he's got a really long forelock, that's the bit that's coming down the front. And similar to the grey mare I had, there's a bit of wood shavings on the ground, so you get that reflecting the natural sunlight and it becomes a nice warm shade on the front of his face. So, yeah, that's one of my favourite images, even though I took it years and years ago now. Oh, I thought there was another one in there, it must be coming up. So this is, again, classic example, even though I don't like having to crop. This was going to the zoo with a school and I only had a 70 to 200. And I was like, no, I wish I took the 100 to 400 because this tiger was sitting here and a butterfly flew over his head and he just went like that and followed it. So that's an example of, photographer frustration, I call it, where you wish you had a longer lens and you didn't bring it. So yes, I've allowed myself to crop that one to make it a lot bolder. And same with this. I actually had the client said to me, I just want the eye, So I said, okay, well, look, we'll go in nice and tight and see how it looks. So again, personal preference, now that we did that, I actually prefer that better. But usually I'd set out to take a shot like that. But yeah, because of the black and white stripes, it's just so stark. So this is just a collection of the stills that I shot the first day. I used the Fujifilm X-T3. And the guys, that little doco you saw at the start, the guys spent about probably 12 or 15 hours filming. And yeah, my daughter was sick to death because they'd say, just one more, just go back and do it again, just one more. So, but yeah, just using those lenses, particularly the action stuff, the 100 to 400 mm lens, I absolutely love for horses. I can't wait to start shooting this season because my horse stuff, I only work for a few months of the year and I start around October, November each year because the rest of the time they're too hairy. So spring and summer's the best time to do horse photography. So yeah, I'm really excited about using the 20 frames per second that camera does. I love it. So I've just got these up close for you to see, but I'm so impressed with the clarity and the quality. There's so much detail. It's almost like you're using a medium format camera. So sharp. And even though I've don't use studio lights. This is lit by the cameraman's light, and I use the 35mm for this. And the 35mm is such a sharp lens, love it. Yeah, again, you think, oh, what am I going to take with a standard sort of a lens? But this one and the next one, I shot with a 35, so really pleased with those. And that's again back to the 100 to 400mm lens. Same, going in nice and close on the detail stuff. So yeah, if you've got a long lens, just use it to the max. That's what I sort of like telling people. Challenge yourself, just get right in. That's what's good. You don't have to sort of move, you can just zoom right in. So there's that other one again, the 15th of a second. It almost has a cinematic type quality, that one, just the lighting and the trees in the background. It's with 100 to 400. Shooting through a bit of foliage again. Going good for time, that's good. And that was sort of my final shot, how we finished the little film. That's at the back of my property with the sun going down. It's such a magic spot to do afternoon light photos. Beautiful. Perfect. And so I'm finishing with this because I'm now doing a workshop photographing animals at Hillsville Sanctuary. So I have to ask if anyone here is interested in coming along on that date. Jot that number down and I'll see you there. We'll spend a few hours photographing dingoes and koalas and kangaroos and birds. So I'm looking really forward to it. And that's about it. So I think there's some questions and things to ask.
Thanks, Nicole. That was very instructive, and
Thank you.
I think particularly the side-by-side shots where you can see the effect of the lighting on one side or lighting on the other side is particularly indicative to understand what a difference different lighting makes. So that's really good. But now we've got time. So now, if you'd like to do some further instruction with Nicole, can you grab those details there? Alternatively, if it's easier, you can go down to our film counter and just tell them you want to get more details or express your interest, and that may be an easier option. But just while we're... who has some questions for Nicole? I'll bring the microphone down.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm just interested in the transition from sort of commercial newspaper photography to
this?
Yeah.
The transition as in how did I go about doing it? Or?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I was at the age, I left about 2008, 2009. When I left, I had stayed on as a freelancer and I did those, the shots of the horse and that sort of thing I showed you at the start. Did a few of those things, but then because I was off doing a lot of my other stuff, I went, I was always out photographing horses seasonally, and then I'd pick up a few pet or animal, dog photo shoots to do. So I just started to do more and more of that, and then, the newspapers dropped off. So, and then I had kids as well. My kids are 12 and 16, so around that time I was busy with kids. Yeah. So, Is that sort of what you wanted to, is that answering? Yeah.
So it's sort of a natural...
Yeah, it was a bit of a progression, and I wanted to concentrate on doing more of the stuff that I loved. Yeah, and because I've been in newspapers a while, and thought I'd rather do animals and horses. So,
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nicole. Now one more here.
Hello, I'd just like to ask if you've got any tips for photographing very black, hairy dogs.
Very black, hairy dogs.
So that they end up black.
Okay. Yeah. What breed are they?
Poodles.
Okay.
Thank you.
I didn't really have an example
good
there.
Question.
Well, the gorilla's probably an interesting example because the background's quite black. But if you have a lighter background, you'll end up with just a silhouette. So you're best to keep the background quite dark. And you can the good thing is, what are you shooting on? What sort of, is it digital SLR? Yeah. Yeah, you can probably underexpose, the good thing is you can underexpose or overexpose intentionally just to make sure you get the blacks nice and saturated. So, I mean, if you have an automatic setting and you're photographing a black dog on a black background, it'll just see, oh, it's really dark, and it'll make it really light to compensate. So, yeah, so you don't want that. So, yeah, just bracket your exposures, to make sure you're getting the true blacks. And then also, probably you'll have to bump up a bit of contrast in that in your editing, so you get more shape and definition. And the lighting's probably also important as well, because you've got a black subject. You'll have to make sure if you want to get the definition of the dog's face or the hair or anything like that, you'll want to make sure you've got some good side lighting or some strong kind of natural lighting happening just to bring out the definition and the shapes.
So obviously not an easy thing.
No. Takes a bit of practice, but yeah, lucky with digital you can,
Challenge even for the professionals.
Yeah.
So now, importantly, Nicole's talk today and all the talks today are going to be on our website in a couple of weeks' time. So if you've missed anything or you want to go over things again, and in our newsletter, in our regular newsletter, we'll say when they're up. So now Nicole's going to be kind enough to come down to the Fuji section to answer any more questions you've got. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you for Fujifilm for sponsoring Nicole.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and thanks to Fujifilm for getting me here.